All right, everybody, welcome back to the next lesson in the Find a New Way to Live challenge. Today we are talking about lifelong learning. Now, I know most people hate learning, so roll with me just to be able to help better understand what I mean by lifelong learning and how it's going to be able to help you move forward and find a new way to live. And I want to start off with another great quote by a man named Jim Rohn. Jim says that a formal education will make you a living, but a self-education will make you a fortune. Now, when I first heard that quote, of course, what struck me was the self-education will make you a fortune. Now, back to how we were talking about before, fortune doesn't necessarily always mean money or riches or wealth. A fortune means something that is valuable and something that means something to you. So the self-education can make you a fortune. So what that means is that we can all become a self-educating machine and learn everything that we need to about anything that we want and be able to become, do, or have anything that we want to be. First question I want to ask you today is, when is the last time you learned something new? And when is the last time that you actually sought out to learn something new? Now, most of you might say, well, I haven't learned anything since high school, or maybe middle school, or maybe I haven't learned anything in years, and I can't remember the last time I actually committed myself to learning something new. And if that's your answer, that's okay. An honest self-assessment is always great, but that may be a reflection of where we are in life right now. So I want to ask you, like I said before, most of us don't like learning or don't like reading or don't like asking for help, but this is a lesson and a tool that we're going to have to use if we want to continue to find a new way to live, because we're not going to be able to do all that we can and continue to add value to the world and build on our strengths and achieve our goals if we aren't learning how to do that from the right people. So if you can identify that time that you last learned something new, I want to ask you, how did you learn it? You know, there's several different types of learners. Some people can't read, or some people don't like to read. So therefore, having somebody read a book who can't or doesn't like to isn't going to be the best way for that person to learn. And some people are visual learners. Some people like to watch videos or watch other people do it. And some folks are just hands-on learners. You teach me how to do it, show me how to do it, and I'll never forget it. So we're going to have to understand what our learning style is and how we learn best before we even start learning, because if we don't understand how we learn best, we might learn backwards, or we might learn the wrong way. Now, just imagine if you, forever in life, you had to write using the opposite hand that you normally write with, and you thought, no, I'm naturally left-handed, so if I would have just been born and thought, I have to write with my right hand, try writing your name with your opposite hand right now. It doesn't look very good. But when you put the pen or the pencil in the right hand and write it how you're naturally supposed to, it's beautiful, it's easy, it's effortless, and that's the right way to learn right there. That's the right way to write. So what I'm trying to introduce you to is figuring out your learning style and how you can use that learning style to learn all the information you want. Because if you haven't been taught how to learn the right way, that could be the reason right there that you don't like to learn. And I don't want you to go through the rest of this program and go through life not being a learning machine and being able to learn everything that you want. Because we live in a day and age right now where we can Google anything, we can go to the libraries. There's so much information out there that we can literally learn anything that we want to if we put in the work to get it. So like I said before, most people stop learning when they finish high school. Those that stop learning end up settling for a life of mediocrity and can hope for an annual 3% raise if you're working, and also that 3% raise is going to be offset by the cost of living that usually increases 3% as well. All right, so most of you have probably heard of Warren Buffett, who's one of the richest men in the world, owns all type of different big companies and is an investor and just has buku money. And somebody, if you studied a billionaire, you would ask yourself, well, what would he do with his time? And what would he do for fun? And how would he continue to stay on top like he's done for years and years and years? I heard an interview one time and they asked Warren, they said, Warren, what do you do in your day? How do you spend your time? He said, I spend my first 6 hours a day reading. And I thought, wow, this guy reads for 6 hours a day? So 6 times 7, that's 42 hours in a week that Warren Buffett spends actively reading, actively learning something new. And of course, everything that he learns is going to further his self-education, which is going to continue to help him become the person that he wants to be. Obviously, he's very smart in several different things, but he's specific as to what he learns about. I'm sure Warren's not going to learn about something that he doesn't have no interest in or doesn't have any invested time or money or resources into. So he's going to learn about what's going to take his strengths and make them better. He's going to take and learn about his businesses and what he does and how he can become better and how can he become and be prepared for and be steps ahead of everyone else. So the knowledge that we're seeking, and once we're able to get hooked up with that internal motivation of this lifelong learning, this learning and this knowledge that we're seeking is going to have to be related to the goals that we have. So, and when it's related to the goals that we have, the goals that we've set for ourselves, when we're able to start learning about how to achieve those goals, that's where the person who doesn't like to learn is going to be the person who loves to learn. Obviously, if we want to become a college graduate, or we want to become a better mechanic, or we want to become a better father, a better at whatever it is our strengths are, the only way to increase our strengths and our abilities and our skills is to actively learn how to improve. So I know that there's all type of experts and all types of different people who like to teach stuff, but the one that's going to be most important to you is going to be the one who is 10, 15, 20 years ahead of where you want to be in life right now. And there's so many different books out there, and there's so many different people who have wrote great articles and just have great work out there that we can study, that we can learn from, and that what we can do by learning all that information from the right people is that we can cut our learning curve in half most of the time if we're able to start this lifelong learning process right where we are. So what I want you to do today is I want you to write out 5 things that you would like to learn more about. Now, I know the answer to that question is going to be different for everybody. That's exactly how it should be. We all have our own different goals. We all have our own different views and outlooks on life. So being able to write out 5 things that you would like to learn about right now, being able to identify the things that are going to help you move forward in your life, that's going to be able to help you identify what this lifelong learning process is going to look like. Like I said before, we all have the opportunity of a lifetime. Never in history has there been a machine that we can type in and learn anything that we want. And we have this available to most of us right now. There's an endless supply of all this information. So just a few examples of different ways to learn would be definitely the internet, books and audio books and YouTube videos. And like I mentioned before, the libraries and traveling, that's just to name a few. What I want you to begin to do is to be able to build this habit into your daily routine. Just like we mentioned in the last video about being able to use our 24 hours the wisest and the best to be able to maximize all of our time. If we can start with 5 or 10 minutes a day of reading or learning or actively pursuing the things that we need to know to continue to help us move forward over time and stay consistent with that and build off that, what'll happen is we'll be able to learn all the things that we want. We'll be able to know how to do all the things that we want to do, and that will help us move forward to the next level in life. Like I said before, if you're somebody who answered this question at the beginning and said, when's the last time you learned something new, and you can't remember, the chances of us actually finding a new way to live and succeeding and growing and becoming the person that we're trying to be is going to be slim if we don't adopt this new way of thinking and being able to find out what it is we want to learn about and then actively doing it.